So as we start with the 7-8 matchup, Jared, Miami Heat and Atlanta Hawks, the winner to take on the Boston Celtics in a 2-7 matchup. And the Heat are a team that have been much maligned for their inability to score basically all year. Their offensive rating numbers have been woeful, but they have a lot of intangibles. They have a really good coach in Eric Spoelstra. They found ways to win some of the important games this year, and it's a big reason why you're seeing them as a 5.5-point consensus favorite against a complete enigma in the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Trae Young factor. He always elevates his game in the big moments, but it has not been a banner year for him. I am looking at the ratings now over the last 10 days, and the Heat actually have a top 10 offensive rating. So their offense has percolated just a bit. And the last time these two teams played, Miami dropped the $130 in a very tight game in Miami, 130-128. Obviously, that went over. And then you had another game kind of land right on the number. Miami was a 3-point favorite. The total was 227. It finished 117-109. So the Heat did cover by a couple of buckets, but the total landed basically right on the number. And then very early in the year, again, it's really tough to take anything from these events or from these results back in November and January. But Miami did win the first matchup all the way back on basically Thanksgiving as a 3.5-point underdog. They won outright on the road. And then Atlanta did win. Their one win of the year came on January 16th as a 1-point favorite at home. So Miami's got the 3-1 edge, 2-2 totals. Again, nothing in this matchup really screams to me. Although Miami does look to be playing some of their better basketball of the season down the stretch, at least offensively speaking.
Right, and that's what makes the one-game sample size fascinating from the betting perspective. Total 227.5 because you have a bottom 8 offense in Miami, just on the full season advanced numbers, and a bottom 8 defense in Atlanta. You also have a coach coming in Quinn Snyder, who has not had much postseason success, 21-30 as a head coach going back to his time in Utah. But you know that Atlanta, think about the year that Nate McMillan took over midseason. All of a sudden, they found something, got hot, made a run, made it to the East Finals with a very similar core led by a dynamic scorer in Trae Young who can go off for 40 at a moment's notice. That's why I find it a little bit hesitant, at least on my end, to want to lay a price of 5.5 with Miami, considering their inconsistencies on offense. Yet, you've watched any Atlanta Hawk basketball this year. I mean, where is the trust in a team like the Hawks? I think, if anything, you're looking at kind of how you view this tempo to play out. If you view Miami is likely to more control tempo, play the grinded out typical playoff type game, you look under.
But then you bet an under in an NBA game and you want to rip your fingernails out after 5 minutes.
Right. That's where it gets dicey. Whereas
betting an under in an NBA game might be my least favorite bet in all of sports.
I've done it a couple times. It wasn't.
I've done it. Everyone's
done it. It's like going to the dentist. I got through it. Wasn't fun.
I don't mind the dentist, actually.
A little cringy.
I'm going to jinx myself. I've never had a cavity in my life.
Really? Neither have I, actually.
Congratulations on that win.
For both of us.
Yeah,
but we still have some ways to go on the
I think I'm good cavity-wise. My gums are really the issue. I'm probably going to have
we're talking Hawks
periodontal surgery. That's how I feel when I bet an under in the NBA, pretty much.
I mean, I don't blame you for thinking that way. Anyway, Hawks Heat. If you think the Hawks control the tempo here and go up and down the floor and are basically getting Miami into, like, if the Miami offensive resurgence you talked about continues, and we know Atlanta doesn't play any defense, and they try to get into all right, we're just going to outshoot you from 3. That's where you could see that over take place.
Well, the last time, again, it was a month ago, but it was 258 points were scored in the game. The game went over by 27 points. And now, again, that was the second of a back-to-back home and home, where actually it was 2 straight games in Miami where they've played each other on March 4th and March 6th with a basically 48-hour window. So you want to say the second of those 2 games, maybe things were a little more loosey-goosey. But I find it you have to give me a really compelling reason to bet an under in an NBA game.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.